Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin and today we're going to be diving into the sweet surprises on their way in for you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so welcome back my beautiful kindred spirits and anyone new who may be joining us here today. We have a very fun one and that we're going to be looking into those sweet surprises on their way in and any other information that you might need to know at this time. Do feel free to get settled because we're also going to be looking into a yes or no question reading as well. So you can start cooking up what that yes or no question is now or throughout your reading. But if you are new to the channel, we are going to be doing things a little bit differently as well for those of you who have been here before. But if you are new to the channel, do feel free to subscribe as I put out new videos every single Monday and I'm constantly evolving and changing and listening to your feedback to see what comes in next. So do feel free to join us in this little space on the internet. And we're going to go ahead and start looking at these piles here in a second. But I do want to mention, if you'd like to support the space throughout the holiday season, do feel free to check out the Kindred tip jar down below. It all goes right back into the channel to the different decks and supplies and charms and different modalities that we use here. So do feel free to check that out down below. But alongside that, I just want to let you guys know if you wanted a snail mail reading, I currently have snail mail readings closed for the holidays as I just currently don't have enough time to make sure that those are sent out to you in time and well thought out and all of that. I want to make sure they're really good for you. So unless you really need a reading like pronto, I'll be bringing those back in at the new year, which I'm very excited for. I've got really good ideas cooking up to change things up a little bit there. But if you want to support the space beyond those, you can check out the handmade spell and ritual paper that I have created for the Yuletide as well as the winter solstice, which is one of my absolute favorite holidays, and I hope it is for you too. It is full of hope, celebration, cheer. It also showcases a lot to do with protection and longevity of ideas and growth that you're trying to manifest. It's a wonderful time of year. So if that is what you're interested in for any magic or witchcraft that you could get up to, do feel free to check all of that out down below. And let's go ahead and look at these sweet piles. So here for each of the piles, we have a different piece of candy, a little chocolate, a little sweet for you to choose from. For pile number 1, we have a little kiss in the sugar cookie flavor with silver wrapping and some green, red, and sort of teal or green, darker teal little hearts. So that is pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have one more easy to describe in that it is a Rollo, and it is just covered in gold foiling, this beautiful gold, slightly more on the rosy side. So that is pile number 2. And then here, last but not least, for pile number 3, we have another little kiss here of chocolate in the cookies and cream flavor with these little cookies and metallic blue foiling. So that is pile number 3. So before you start heading off to your piles, to the timestamps, I love to give you guys just a moment here to really ground and center your energy before choosing your piles and to also connect with your intuition to make a better decision on which one is really calling out to you. So let's go ahead and take that deep cleansing breath here together now. I always do really feel so much better after those breaths, so I hope you guys do too. Do feel free to choose more than one pile, to play around between the piles, to flip-flop. If a pile isn't calling to you, you're always welcome to do whatever you'd like here. There really are no rules. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description alongside the chapter marks of this video. And like I mentioned earlier, snail mail readings are currently closed, but you can also check out the Yule spell and ritual paper that I have right now for the winter solstice or the Kindred tip jar, all down below for different information on those if you want to support this space as we move through the season and just in general. I really do appreciate it. You guys have no idea. It really does mean a lot. And it also just means a lot for you guys to be here and interact with this little space that we have here. So lots of gratitude, and let's go ahead and look here at pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you've decided to choose this little kiss in the sugar cookie flavor, then this is the pile for you for your sweet surprises on their way in for you today. We're going to be using the charms quite heavily here today alongside only one deck, unless you count the fact that we're also going to be playing around with the Charmcast Tarot alongside the charm. So we're going to be doing stuff a little bit differently today. Do let me know if you enjoy it, if it's a very interesting or helpful with your intuition, down in the comments down below for this setup. But we're also going to be using not only a new deck, but also a deck I just recently received in the mail here on the channel, and this is the Meraki Tarot. I'm super excited for it. It's got such a airy, very open and freeing feeling to it, which I think is really helpful this time of year when everything feels a little bit heavier, a little bit busier, a little bit quicker. So I hope you enjoy that. And we're also going to be ending the reading with a yes or no question to be answered. So as we go throughout this reading, or maybe you already have one in your mind, to keep it in your mind throughout the reading, because we'll be coming to that at the end. So with all of that said, let's just start getting right into it. I'm so excited. These are always some of my favorite videos to film because they're usually quite positive, but I do want to just remind you that every sweet isn't always somebody's favorite sweet. Like, I personally really like candy canes, but someone else might not like them. Some people like more sour things and more bitter things. So the energy that comes through for some of you might be very sweet, beautiful, wonderful, positive surprises, and others it might be learning lessons or something that feels a little bit more bitter, but overall is usually very useful to you. So we're going to see what comes through. I hope that made sense, but let's go ahead and send your energy in here today. Been tripping over my words today, so just, we're just going to have a little wabi-sabi moment. But let's see. Group 1, what sweet surprises are on their way in at this time? It's a timeless reading, so whenever, for group 1 here. Do feel free to send your energy in through time and space here. So first off, we have here the 7 of Pentacles showing up for you, also known as sort of crystals in this deck too. Like I said, it's very floaty and open, so there is a lot of freedom that is shown within the birds in this deck. So it's quite heavily in a lot of birds, so if you're looking for a lot of bird imagery or lately you've been seeing a lot of bird signs, then maybe that's another reason why you felt called to this space. But let's see what else comes through for you with that 7 of Pentacles showing up. The 7 of Pentacles has a lot to do with kind of a waiting. Maybe you've been waiting for a wish to come through that you've been kind of feeling out. We also have the 8 of Swords showing up here. The 8 of Swords also shows kind of feeling pinned down. So we have a lot of stagnation, feeling pinned down, waiting something out. So let's see what surprises might be coming in within that energy and related to that energy. Let's see, group 1. Sweet surprises. Okay, let's see what showed up here. So you have the 7 of Cups. We have 2 7s and an 8. So 877 or 7788 or whatever you might see in terms of numerology here. But that is what we were getting here with the 7 of Cups alongside it. So the sweet surprises that I'm seeing here, like I said, there's this pinned down feeling. Whenever I look at this 8 of Swords, yes, it can look a little scary, especially if you are scared of spiders. Don't worry, just an illustration. But what I get with this is this feeling of like the sweet surprise that is coming through is like kind of having to look at your situation from a new point of view, a new perspective, because maybe the spider isn't actually something that they might be coming to help you versus something that's coming to harm you. They could be more friend than foe. So maybe someone's coming into your life right now who is feeling a bit like a foe or something that could be really scary or intimidating, even is the word that I was really getting, is this feeling of intimidating, or just, you don't really feel your best around them. It could be a family member, especially for those of you who are watching it when I post this around the holidays. We're going to be seeing people we don't see all the time. And you might be coming across someone who you feel is more foe than friend, but I do see that you might be changing your situation, seeing your situation from a new point of view, because they seem like someone who continually puts you in your corner, puts you feeling like you're lesser or weaker or smaller. They feel like they're not allowing you to expand or grow. And so I can totally understand where that would feel like a foe, and maybe that's still continuing. But I think what's going to change is you're going to surprise yourself, either to find out that they are your friend, that there are going to be really maybe ceasefires, or like things are going to feel a little less of tension around this person, because you're possibly starting to realize how to kind of stick up for yourself, start to try to get out of this tangled mess that they've continued to create for you. Maybe that's through, like I said, I feel like this is a family member, so it could be like generational learnings and beliefs that you're kind of fighting against, and maybe empowering yourself to speak up a little bit more, or just reminding yourself that at the end of the day, they aren't really a part of your picture. But I think the surprise here is that I think that you're going to realize that you have more power in this situation than you think you do. And I feel really called to this card specifically for you guys. But outside of that energy, outside of that surprising, again, that I feel like you're going to speak up more than you have been, or you're going to find your voice a little bit more, mature a little bit more beyond what they were expecting, not allow them to belittle you. I really see that that's starting to change. And you're using also, I forgot to mention, because of the spider, they remind me too of with the webs, right? They can spin some really nasty webs as well, this person, if they still feel like a foe to you. And I think that you're going to find creative ways to get out of that web that you weren't able to before, coping mechanisms, tools, ways of communicating through a situation a lot better, ways of combating this a lot better. And I think that, again, that's going to surprise you as well, how much you've grown, sorry, I had a hiccup, grown in the last few months since you've seen them, or however long it's been. Other things that are showing up here, we have the 7 of Cups and the 7 of Pentacles, and I felt called to that 7 energy, 7 being a lot about reflection. So again, I think that reflecting on your situation, you're going to realize afterwards how much you've surprised yourself. It might not be in the moment, but you're going to think back and be like, wow, I've really grown, and I'm really starting to feel a little bit better, or not letting them get to you as much. The other thing that I get here too is we have, like I said, that 7 of Pentacles and 7 of Cup energy. 7 of Cups has a lot about daydreaming, kind of sitting in the clouds, fantasy feelings, and the 7 of Pentacles showcases sort of feeling kind of stagnant, stuck, or kind of waiting something out. It feels like you're like waiting for something to grow, waiting for something to happen. It's like if you've put seedlings in the ground and you're just waiting for those first sprouts to finally happen, but it's taking ages to get that growth. So if you've been waiting on a wish to come through, waiting on some sort of fantastical miracle sort of moment to come through, it isn't that it isn't coming, but I think you might have to wait a little bit longer than you were expecting. If you've been doing spell work, manifestations, rituals, again, you might have to wait on it longer than you had expected. But I think that, again, with sweet surprises, it always does end up becoming something good in the end. So the reason why you're getting these cards is because that waiting process, that slower process to get there, is actually going to benefit you in the long run than if you tried to make it happen quicker and faster than its desired or more divine timing pace. I feel like there's more to the 7 of Cups though, and I really want to look a little bit further. And like I said, today we're not going to be pulling any more cards. So instead we're going to go straight to the charms, which I typically wait till the end. But we're going to actually use this chunk of the board to pull some charms alongside these tarot charms with the Charmcast Tarot. So let's go ahead and do that now. So feel free to send your energy in. Through time and space, and we are going to go ahead and mix these up. So here we go. Sweet surprises on their way in for group 1 here. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to just flip these around a little bit. We have the numbers 13, or I also felt 15 apparently, 5, and 13. And then we have a few other charms, but before we start really looking deeply into these, let's go ahead and also pull these tarot tiles. I haven't used them for divination yet on the channel. I showed them in my charm master guide video if you want to check that out for charm casting, but these are what they look like. But let's go ahead and mix them up here. Group 1. I'll hold it this way. Group 1. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to zoom you in so you can see just a little closer here. But the ones that you got are the Judgment card. Ooh, okay, yes. The Judgment card, oh my goodness, it's definitely repeating things in a really useful and helpful way. So we have the Judgment card, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands represents usually an upset, a fighting, combative sort of tension feeling between two parties, two people, or even multiple points of places, right? Which we were already getting with the Eight of Swords here. So the Wands is just showcasing more of that, this internal battle or tension in the room between you two. And what I'm getting here is, again, more of that slow down energy that we were getting from the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles representing that stagnation, having to wait things out. And that's being kind of reaffirmed here as the longer you wait, the more likely it is that you're going to get this pentacle in the end, that you're going to get this reward physically manifested in the end. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then you also have the Judgment card, which represents that surprise, that evolution, that feeling of kind of leveling yourself up, leveling the field even as well, and feeling like things have leveled in the field. If you felt like you weren't mature enough, you felt like you were always at the kids' table, or, they just belittled you down, I feel like you're going to be having better tactics maybe to deal with gaslighting, better tactics, or even you're going to maybe go into, now because you've heard this, you might be going into your situation knowing and having better tools in order to combat the situation in a more a better way to communicate and understand when they may be gaslighting you, the different ways in which they are going about the situation that might be more useful to you. And again, I also just think you're going to be surprised by how much you've grown over time, and that's going to surprise you as well, which is always a sweet surprise. We love when we surprise ourselves. So we also have here several different charms, right? So we have the owl charm, the owl representing kind of, I'm getting this feeling of like just finally seeing yourself for the first time a little bit more. This also represents feeling more wise, feeling like you can tackle things a little bit more. So more of that same energy, but it's also alongside with this number 5, which represents again more of that five of wands, tension, and change. It is also the number of change. You have the owl and the feather showing up between this 5. So what is changing also is that you're going to be able to see and communicate, because the feather represents the air element, which also represents our mind, logic, mechanisms, and communication. So when you have those next to each other, again, you're able to see and listen and hear those small little things that used to bug you or get on your nerves or try to tip you off or tip you over. I think you're going to be a lot better at noticing those and actually being able to pick them apart versus letting them pick you apart. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's where that empowerment is coming from. That's where that surprise is coming from. Alongside that, you also have the focus charm, which is like one of those little sewing needle, like if you can't thread a needle, it's like a threader, so you can thread a needle even better. So it's all about having very minute, detailed focus, and that's what's coming through with this charm, is showcasing it, but it's upside down. So for the idea that you have it here, it makes me think that you've been focusing really, really hard to make something happen, and you're looking at it, and it's kind of like trying to watch water boil or watch paint dry. Like it's the more you look at it, the longer it's going to take to dry in your mind. And so it's just better to kind of let go of that focus, let yourself work on something else for a little while, and either that means that wish or manifestation is going to come after that point, when you've allowed yourself to sort of let go a little bit, or because you took your eyes away, that's when the magic can happen, because it's not being sort of forced or overly focused upon. And then lastly here, you have two other charms that just feel kind of separate from everything else. And what you have here is the dog charm. This is my childhood dog, Cody. So it can represent for some of you maybe grief or something like that with a loved one, or maybe the loved one of a spirit coming through, maybe an animal who you were very close to that's coming through as well, and that's going to be sort of a sweet surprise. Maybe you're going to be surprised with someone's animal or with a pet in some way, so keep that in mind. It can go many different ways, so whatever your intuition is really latching onto here. But that charm did come through, and we had a lot to do with communication with spirit as well, and even with the Seven of Cups, it can showcase that with some more of that whimsical fantasy kind of element. So listen to those signs. Don't allow them to become fantasy. I definitely listen to them, because sometimes we can talk ourselves out of the signs that we receive, right? And the signs that you might be receiving from them have to do with feeling held back by something. And it also showcases, whenever I see this charm too, is like career, money, finances, and maybe that's what's holding you back from something as well, and or is maybe what you're trying to manifest, and that's why you're kind of dragging it around with that focus that we were feeling before. But they do seem to be sending in signs and signals there. So those are all of the charms and cards here, but I do want to go ahead and clear this off and get you ready for your yes or no question. So do feel free to get that in mind here now. Okay, so I have it all set up now for you here, and what was fun is this specific deck actually has two cards here that are both a yes and a no card. Both still feeling like the no doesn't feel super, it feels more like night and day, right? So it doesn't feel like it has to be like a no is such a hard no or such a harsh yes, which is why I also have maybe down here as well as better, and we'll see how that aligns, so it's not something that's so black and white. But we're going to be casting this specific little charm here so that you can send in your question. It's a yes or no question. This is a collective reading, so, take it as it is, but we're going to see what comes through for you and the collective. So if you've sent that in, let's go ahead and see the answer to the yes or no question collectively for group 1. All right, so we have quite a strong no maybe center over here, right? So we have a lot showing up here in both no and maybe. And when I see that, that tells me that whatever it is that you are asking about, there is still a way to skew it towards yes, but it's going to take a lot more effort, energy, or time to get there. And this no is also showcasing, right, that it can still flip, that there's still a little bit of, like, it makes me think of a coin that's just sort of flipping around on its side, that there's still an option for it to flip. It's not a hard, harsh no or strict no, but it is showing up here more likely no than yes. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and close off this reading. I do hope this was useful to you with all of the different cards and charms. Do let me know in the comments down below, as I mentioned earlier, what you thought about this new setup. I would love to hear, as we're going to be playing around with it even more next week for your 2-week ahead reading. And if you want to stay tuned for that, do feel free to subscribe, as I put out these readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, spirit guide messages, and so much more. You can also give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how it went. And if you also would like to support this channel throughout the holiday season, do feel free to check out the Kindred tip jar down below. And in the new year, I will be putting out some new readings that you can check out as well, for snail mail readings and other things, so keep an eye out for those. But for now, I currently have, if you guys are interested in witchy magical things or art magic, some handmade Yule spell and ritual paper for the winter solstice, which is one of my favorite holidays. And so if it is yours too, this is a great way to bring in a little bit more of that manifestation for hope, for prosperity, for growth, and also a little bit of holiday cheer, and many other things. So do feel free to check that all out down below. It really does help the channel, helps this space continue to grow. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello, Group 2. If you've decided to choose this little Rollo, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set it down right here so you can see it during your reading today, as we're going to be looking into your sweet surprises on their way in. These are one of my favorite kinds of readings to do, so I'm so excited. We are going to be doing stuff a little bit differently here today, in that we're only going to be using one deck. We're going to be using a new deck to me that I just recently received in the mail, and that is the Meraki Tarot. And I'm really excited for this because we're going to be doing things a little bit differently, in that we're only going to be pulling 3 cards from this, and we're going to be also pulling specifically more charms today, and we're even going to be using the Charm Cast Tarot charms, which I haven't gotten to use on the charm or on the videos yet here for you for pick a card, so I'm really excited. If you do enjoy them, do let me know, because I want to use them more in the future. And on top of that, at the very end of all of this, we're also going to be pulling some yes or no question cards out, so that you can get a question out for a yes or no question that we can answer. So as we move through the reading, you might come up with your question, or maybe you already have a question in mind now, but we'll be answering that at the end collectively. So let's go ahead and just dive right in, right? So let's get started first with the tarot messages. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space. Get settled, get ready to go. I know this is a busy time of year, so I'm going to try not to keep this too long, so you can get back to all your daily festivities. And let's get started. Group 2 here. What sweet surprises are on their way in for Group 2? And just a reminder that surprises are sometimes sweet, and sometimes more bitter, sometimes a little too sour. So we're going to see what that is for you. Right now we have showing up is the Knight of Wands. A lot of determined, momentous energy from this card. I'm also getting like this curious spirit from this fox. Feels very curious, kind of getting like whatever reason, like a Tom and Jerry feeling, if you've ever heard of that like cartoon. With this bird and the fox here, they feel like a bit like they're playfully playing with one another, but there is sort of like this camaraderie, bantering kind of energy that's showing up here. So a lot of social communication that's more bantery, kind of playful and fun. So we're going to see what else comes through to give us a little bit more context to this. All right, so we've got 2 flying out already. So we have the Ace of Wands and the 3 of Pentacles. So 2 wand energies and then a pentacle. So things that are very passionate and earthly grounded. I'm getting this feeling that there is a lot of teamwork that's going to be showing up for you. Maybe opportunities for collaboration. And just in case, I'll hold these up so you guys can really see all of the cards and all their details, since this is a new deck on the channel. But yeah, what I'm getting here is just like, the Ace of Wands represents a new passionate opportunity with someone, right? Or with something. It doesn't have to be a person in this case, but it does represent a new, just starting little buds on this tree that is growing, right? So there's some sort of passion that you're wanting to grow, or some sort of skill or hobby or something that you're just feeling really like in your element to start on. You're feeling this epiphany, a spark for something to begin growing. And that has a lot of potential to grow right now, right? And I don't think that is the surprise. I don't think that you're surprised by this opportunity that's come in. What I think is surprising for you is that it's coming in from a place that is either from a friendship, someone that you've been bantering with for a while, especially in like more of a playful friendship or romantic sense, possibly, that a new spark is reigniting with someone, or a new passion with them that you're maybe going out and enjoying with this person. But there also is a potential, if that's not really resonating for you, for some of you, I'm also getting this 3 of Pentacles feeling, which represents teamwork, represents collaboration, represents networking, that's going to create an opportunity for you to grow something as well. And probably something bigger and better than the little twig you started with, right? They're going to be able to add their little twigs, their little ideas, their passions and their goals to the entire thing to create something much bigger than you could have all done on your own. And so I do feel like there is something about you bringing your opportunity, right? You've got this little bird bringing their little stick or twig to the space, which is very important and vital to create the whole nest, right? I'm not saying that it isn't important, but when you come to that whole, when you get to to what you guys could create together, it's something much bigger, and it's only going to add to the kindling of the fire here and the passion and the excitement. So I do get a lot of bantery, fun, playful, experimentative, kind of curious energy to see what would happen if, we put this here and put that there, and there's a lot of beautiful collaboration happening. So I think what's going to surprise you, and it feels like possibly not right now. Like, I don't feel like this is something that's happening in this exact moment, although it might be. But I do feel like it's something down the road. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling like January for some of you. But I feel like it's like after the holidays or after some big season, if you're watching this later in the future beyond when I first post this. But it feels like 2 months down the line that it's going to take a little bit of time to get there, but I do feel like there's a new opportunity available to you. The other thing I want to mention, though, is just because this is a sweet surprise coming in, and I feel like it's one that's, like I said, going to take a little bit of time to enjoy the sweetness, or to get to the sweetness of the surprise. And I think the surprise is just that someone's going to mention it to you, but that this is going to take quite a little bit of time. And that's something to also be patient with, but it will not happen if you don't create that initial spark. So if you feel like there's someone you want to collaborate with right now, whenever we get an ace, it represents an opportunity that is also fleeting. Yes, it can grow. Yes, it might take a little time to grow. But if that first initial spark, that first log on the fire isn't ignited, isn't created, isn't actually taken a tangible step forward, then nothing is going to continue to domino effect all the way down the line. So this is a fleeting opportunity for you as well. So take advantage of it now so that you can have that surprise later, so that you can have that later. And that means that either you need to create that first move with someone or with some sort of collaboration that's coming in. Like I said, it could be more romantic, it could be more of a networking collaboration or something on more work related even. If that is what you're feeling and you're feeling called to and they're not really reaching out to you, then this is the moment to try and to just put yourself out there and see what happens. See if it kind of surprises yourself that maybe they actually would want to reach out back, or maybe it might not be them, but someone else might be reaching out to you. So if you're not getting them to reach out first, then it might be that you need to surprise yourself to reach out first. So those are sort of all the things that I'm getting here. I do want to mention as well with both of these cards, you have a bird holding the wands, right? You've got a bird over here holding the wand, and then you've got a bird holding it over here as well. That showcases it even blooming more. So there's a lot of blooming opportunity that's happening here, and I just want to remind you of that there's a lot of potential in this. So keeping your eye on it. But I want to go ahead and, instead of pulling a bunch of more cards, because that's usually what I would do at this point, we're actually going to move over to the charms, and we're going to pull some charms and cast them right here at the bottom of the cards, and also add to it a bunch of tarot cards in charm form, which is going to be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and start here first with the sweet surprises on their way in and the rest of the details that are coming through for you, group 2. So feel free to send your energy in. Okay, so I've got a few of them trying to roll off here. Let's go ahead, before I even talk about all of these, first off we have the letter D, just in case that resonates for anyone, but I want to go ahead and pull out the rest of them. So do feel free to send your energy into these too. I think that's always important, is to kind of stay present. That's why I don't cut out these parts, so you guys can, send your energy in through time and space here. But let's see. Group 2. Sweet surprises. Okay, I think there's more. I think we only have 2 here. Not feeling called to a lot of them. But let's see. So I'm going to zoom you in so you can see a little bit closer. You got here upside down, showcasing the the High Priestess, and alongside that you also have here the Chariot card. So a little bit of differing energies. Both have a lot to do with, one has a lot to do with slowing down a process, really taking in all of your information, and the Chariot represents doing the same, but actually making active steps to move forward. And so right now, I think it's not that you haven't already thought about creating this opportunity for yourself, or haven't thought about like putting out the branch and being like, hey, let's see if this could grow here, let's collaborate, let's get together, let's, have a date, or whatever it might be that you're making a move on. But there definitely showcases an opportunity for making a move right now, and that taking your time and slowing down and really considering the situation might mean that the moment will be fleeting, and that it will kind of pass you by the time you finally do. So really listen to your intuition on this versus trying to kind of rationalize it or think it through or overthink it a little bit too much. The person that's coming through, or part of the place, or anything else that might be a little bit of a signifier here, we have the letter D. So that might be showing up for their name. I don't know why Daryl popped in for whatever reason, but we have a name possibly showing up here with the letter D. I felt very drawn to these charms, but I felt really drawn specifically to this one. I had to take a second to first pull it out. And this is the universe charm. And whenever I see this, it represents like you have a really big opportunity here. Something that's going to maybe change it. And this isn't going to be everyone, right? This is a collective reading, but it does feel like this is going to change your perspective quite deeply on life. When you have those moments where you didn't realize that it was going to be so big until you look back on it and you're like, oh wow, that was the moment that made this and this and this and this happen. This is kind of an indicator that is a possibility for a few of you. This could be quite a new life stage that you're kind of popping into, or a life change that's quite big and evolutionary for you. Other things that we have the cloudy weather charm. Whenever I see this one, it represents like cloudy weather. It feels like you can't see the sun through it. You can't see direction through it, right? It feels like a blizzard, right? A whiteout. And you have that again next to the universe charm. So again, you're not going to be able to see how big of an impact this is going to make until that weather clears. And on top of it, you're also not going to be able to see what moves you make. And which ones are going to be the ones that make that big move, and which ones are going to be the ones that are just going to be small and insignificant down the line. And we're never going to know until we look back, right? We're never going to know until we have hindsight. And so I think this is just a reminder of that, and also not to overthink it so much and stay in this space, because moving past the clouds or moving on is going to be more useful to you, because we also have the charm of the rook in chess. If you've ever played chess, this one is all about just moving forward. We are moving forward, and we're not looking other places. We're not deviating from the plan. We are moving forward, and we're making, this is very Chariot energy as well, and we're making those moves. So that's also showing up here as well for you. And that, again, the surprise is that you're going to realize how much it's going to make an impact down the line, but you're not going to know if it's reaching out to this person versus this person that it's going to be that, but it's just trying that's going to make the biggest difference. Putting yourself out there. Again, you only have half the picture. We have the half charm, because if you've ever seen these beads, they usually are full. But at the moment, you're only seeing half the picture. You're only seeing half of the charm here. So right now, you only have half the facts. You only have half of the conversation, and you have to talk to the other person for that. The rest of the conversation to come through, because we also have the pawn charm, which represents a person coming through as well that you might be working with. So those are all of the charms and cards here today. I hope that this was useful to you so far. We are going to go ahead and move on to your yes or no question. So if you have that in mind, let's go ahead and clean this up, and we'll get started on that. All right, so we have it all set up here now for you for your yes or no question. And what's so cool about this deck specifically is it came with 2 cards of yes and no, showcasing both a bit of a light and a dark in the card. So for some of you, a no is actually going to be a really great answer, and for some of you, a yes is. So keeping that in mind, if you have your question in mind, we are going to cast this charm and see which way it falls. I made sure to also add a little bit more of that black and white feeling by adding both better and maybe, and we'll see if that aligns for you as well. But this is a collective reading, so don't take this too seriously, but it might give you a little bit more direction and help moving forward. So let's go ahead and see. Do feel free to send your question in. And here we go. Group 2, the answer to your question. Okay, so we got a strong both yes and maybe here. It fell kind of between both of them. So we have both maybe and yes. That's meaning that it's not a strong yes. It's not like heck yes, but it is definitely a yes, showcasing that it could flip to no. So it could be quite fleeting, or that you're kind of on the fence about something possibly, which we've already talked about quite a lot with your reading. So if it was related to the reading, that might be why. But it's not a full yes, so you might have to put in a little bit of work and effort to make that yes happen. But it does seem to be showcasing that it is more yes or more likely yes than no. So that is the rest of your reading. I hope this was useful to you. If you did enjoy it, if you enjoyed the new setup, do let me know by liking this video and letting me know in the comments down below. I always find your feedback super helpful, super useful, so thank you. And also, if you are looking to see more of readings like this, because next week with our two week ahead reading that I do every month, we're also going to be playing around even more with this charm casting setup. So if that's something you want to see, if you're interested in that, do stay tuned for that for next week. But I do put out new readings every single Monday, so if you are new to the channel, do feel free to subscribe to our Kindred Spirit space here in our little community on this little space of the internet. I would love to have you here and to be able to read for you, to empower you each week moving forward. And also, as we are moving into the holiday season and everything really helps for any support during this time. So if you want to check out the Kindred tip jar down below, do feel free to. And you can also check out the different ways you can support the channel through the snail mail readings, which I do, which at the moment are closed. But don't worry, I'm going to be opening up private readings in the new year. So do stay tuned for those in a couple of weeks. And on top of that, I currently also have, if you're interested in art magic, witchy kind of stuff, I also have a Yule spell and ritual paper for the winter solstice, so do look out for those as well, as I hand make those to create beautiful magic and powerful manifestations for you all. So do feel free to check all of that out down below. And I hope you did enjoy this reading. I'm wishing you the best for the rest of your day and the weeks to come, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose this little suite of the cookies and cream kiss, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set it down here so you can see it during your reading here today as we look into your sweet surprises on their way in. And I've already enjoyed the last 2 piles, so I'm very excited to see what comes in for you. We're going to be using a little bit different of a setup here today in that we're only going to be using one deck. So we're going to be using the newest deck that's in my collection, the new recent deck that I've received for tarot, and that is the Meraki Tarot. So feel free to start sending your energy in and getting settled, but in the same vein, we're also going to be using the charms and the tarot tiles that are the Charmed Cast Tarot. So it's going to be a little bit different here today. You'll see how we decide to go about it. But on top of that, we're also going to be doing a yes or no question to answer for you. So do feel free to start deciding what that question is for you, and maybe deciding it as we go throughout the reading. So let's go ahead and just start getting into it, right? So send your energy in through time and space, and let's go ahead and look first into those sweet surprises and some of the energy around them. So I mentioned also in the last 2 piles that sweet surprises, sometimes the sweetness can be too sweet, right? Or too bitter of chocolate, you know, as a sweet. So keeping that in mind, we're going to see what comes through for you. So group 3, what do you have coming in for your sweet surprises? So I was feeling called to these two top cards. Let's see what they are real quick. So we have both the High Priestess, which is also connected to the moon, and we have here with Mercury, the Magician, showing up here. So we have a little bit of both of those energies. There's a lot going on in these cards. I find it really busy in a really fun way. Like, it feels really fun, these energies do. I want to see what else comes through before I talk too much on them. We're going to pull one more card here, so do feel free to send your energy in, as always. That does make a big difference down the line. So, the Magician and the High Priestess. I am getting this, like you guys are really growing in your spiritual journey right now, or religious journey, your some sort of journey, however you want to label that. Maybe even your beliefs and values, core values, but there's something sort of opening up there. Okay, so we also have the Star. Okay, that gave us a little bit more here. So the Star here, I'll go ahead and hold it up. It also is Aquarius. It's showcasing a very different star image. Usually when we see the star, it usually showcases like sort of a nude woman pulling out water from this beautiful well or this little spring. And this is a very different image, right? So it's showcasing us sort of the darker side of the star. The star comes after a really difficult time, after the Devil or after the Tower, after the Ten of Swords, after something that feels kind of heavy and hard and difficult and a challenge in your life. And the Star comes to showcase a rebirth, to showcase that there's still hope, that there's still ways to navigate your life, that this isn't all doom and gloom, that you hold the hope within you, right? You hold the hope within you. You hold that sort of key. And so what I'm getting here, and I'm feeling really called to, is that you're stepping through sort of this new space in your life. It doesn't feel like you're necessarily evolving or changing or being like a completely different person to who you were before, but I do feel like you're stepping through something because you've hit sort of a wall, and you're finding that that wall is actually turning into a door. You know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes times in our lives where we feel like we're stuck against the wall, that we have no other choice, that this is what it is, this is how life is going to be. And I think what's going to surprise you is that there's more opportunity there for you, that you're going to be opening up this space. And that space comes from a very religious or spiritual side of yourself. Because we also have the High Priestess here, which showcases a lot to do with that unknown spiritual element. And I don't know what that is. It might be that you're already very spiritual, but you're going to be going down a new path spiritually. A new guide is coming in, a new way of worshiping, a new prayer, something is coming in that's going to be giving you a space in which you can walk through. And it's also going to be very empowering for you, because we also have the Magician, which represents a lot to do with empowerment. And I feel like this is this snake here is feeling really tangled up in itself, kind of knotted up, but they're realizing that they have a lot more tools here available to them, right? They have the cups, they have the wands, they have the pentacles, they have the stars on their side, they have all of these crystals. There's so many different modalities and healing and other passageways that you haven't tried out before. So maybe you're not a very spiritual person, or maybe not a very maybe that's very new to you, but even if it's not, it's just that you're going to be taking a new path down that lane. You're going to be trying something out that you haven't before, and that's going to surprise you. I think you're going to be surprised by where it takes you, and how much it's going to give you new tools to cope, new tools for hope, new tools to grow for the better, and also to new languages, as in like a sort of, you know, when you have like signs and signals, it's kind of almost like learning a whole new language from spirit. I feel like you're learning a whole new language with spirit in some way. And spirit can be whatever it is that you feel it is. It could be God, it could be goddesses, it could be the universe, it could be your grandma beyond the veil. Like, it could be all different sorts of things. But I do feel like you're going to be gaining some sort of language with them, and that is also going to be quite surprising to you. This has got such a curious, playful energy to it as well, despite the star. that it might feel kind of scary at first to walk through this, that whenever somebody is going through quite a big awakening that's shaking up a core belief or shaking up a foundation of belief that we've always kind of been set upon, when that changes, shakes, or rearranges itself, that always can be a little bit scary because, right, it's like an earthquake within our being, within our beliefs. And so I really feel like you are going through that like kind of splitting earthquake feeling, but it also is going to be navigating you towards something new that is actually going to be really healthy, sort of a rebirth and a kind of a, I'm getting like the image of a phoenix from the ashes kind of feeling. And so trust it for sure, and see where it takes you. I want to look further into this though, especially to see where this magician is taking you, as that seems like it's almost kind of moving this way versus this way throughout this sort of storyline here. But we're going to be doing that by casting at the very bottom, instead of moving on to more cards, your charms and tarot tiles. So do feel free to send in your energy through time and space, and we'll go ahead and pull the rest of the charms here for you. I like to give you guys the opportunity to, you can skip through all of the mixing and mingling here, but I always think it's really good to connect with the charms as well as I go through them. So do feel free to connect here with me. So let's see, group 3, sweet surprises. Okay, so we've got a few different charms here, and I'll go ahead and zoom you in, but we're also going to pull those tarot tiles here in a second. But you can go ahead and take a moment to really look at these and see what comes through for you initially, just from these specific charms. I always give you guys, just want to remind you really that maybe you'll see this tic-tac-toe charm and see something very different than I do, and listen to your intuition here, especially since you have these new awakenings and openings happening here, which also happened back in the December reading, if you guys check that out. So you might be a part of that pile, and that's why this is continually coming in. But just take your time with them. We're going to go ahead and pull these charms as well to get more precise and specific details. So these are specific tarot charms, which I haven't got to use on the channel yet, but I'm very excited. So let's go ahead and do that now. So group 3 here. Okay. You also had another charm that kind of rolled away down here, so I'm going to go ahead and set that down. But the charms that you got here, you have the 3 of Cups, the 3 of Pentacles, and also the 4 of Pentacles reversed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let you kind of just look at these here for a second. But they all fell in specific spots, so we'll see how they resonate with each of them. But you have 2 that represent like 3 people involved, right? Or a community being involved. So I really do see that you're going to be also, through doing this, opening yourself up to a new community and a new idea that's coming through, because we also have the light bulb charm, which represents a new idea or a new belief showing up here. So I really do think that they are going to be kind of showcasing you, or showcasing to you, a new belief. Do make sure you're not joining a cult or anything. Just want to remind you at the beginning, much easier to get out of it from the beginning. But because there are many people who could try to manipulate you, I just want to remind you of that. There also is the X charm. So this can represent someone kind of playing games. It can represent playfulness, right? Like a tic-tac-toe board, as this came from. But this also reminds me of like exes. So it can remind me that someone in your life previously, who you were previously involved with, ex-friends, ex-romantic partners, ex-family members, are maybe the reason why this is shaking up and changing, and might be the catalyst for it all. You also have several things showcasing on this side with the Four of Pentacles to let something go as well. That something needs to let go, and this is why you're maybe evolving and kind of growing through this phase to gain some empowerment through this spiritual change or this belief system that's changing. Because you also have the 5 charm. Whenever I see this, it just makes me think of the number 5 and some sort of conflict or change, which does remind me a bit of pile number 1, as they also had quite a few cards showcasing the number 5. But it seems to be what you're letting go of is a community, and I believe this was actually upside down as well now that I think about it. A community, you're kind of building a new community that's coming from this new idea, right, that I talked about earlier. But there's on this side what you're letting go, what was a conflict to you that was creating kind of a stiffness in your spirituality, or a feeling of like less hope, or you just weren't feeling as connected to it possibly, was because you were maybe showing your stripes a bit more. You were doing things a little bit differently than they were. There could have been a bit of gatekeeping, and also this represents insecurity, and this represents showing your stripes like a zebra. And so I really do think that you having voiced your opinion, or you trying to be a little bit different from the crowd, is what has caused some of this feeling of upset in the past for a few of you. I don't think this is resonant for everyone, but you also have the cold shoulder charm showing up here with the snowman or the snow person. This always represents usually someone who is giving you the cold shoulder, or kind of just making you feel a little bit kind of cast aside. And that's what I'm getting here. And we have this feeling of wanting to keep things, right? When you look at this upright, it showcases holding on to things that no longer serve you, or are squashing you or holding you back. And that might have come from a previous community that at one point was really joyous and lovely, but the moment you kind of allowed yourself to be yourself, it maybe changed, or just in general, you might have a change that's happening within this dynamic of people because of this change as well of heart when it comes to your belief systems and the shaking up that's happening there. Some of the other charms that I have showing up here for you is the mistletoe charm. The mistletoe usually representing, a lot of people talk about mistletoe like around Christmas time or the holidays, and, you know, kissing under the mistletoe. But mistletoe also, if you've ever seen it actually grow, it's kind of a toxic plant in a way, in the idea that it like leaches onto trees and grows in that way, right? It doesn't even have roots. It just grows onto the top of a tree and it'll start to leach and steal nutrients from the tree. So in that way, it kind of feels like someone's been leeching onto you, or kind of leeching beliefs onto you that no longer resonate with you anymore. And that might be why things are shaking up too, and creating this surprise within you, or this feeling of shakeup. And again, I think that this is a really positive thing for you, this shakeup, but I don't think that it's going to necessarily be an easy sweetening that you're taking in right now. Other things that are showing up here, we have the heart with a little, what are these called? Hourglass in between it, which can represent divine timing. It can also represent that love that is very conditional, right? It's on a clock. It's very conditional. So I'm feeling like that's also showing up here. And you also got the awareness charm. So this represents gaining awareness about the situation as well, and how this conditional feeling was coming in. And again, I think you're going to be surprised when you start to kind of open this box and realize where this is all coming from and how these connect to you when it comes to where you're feeling this shakeup. And then the last charm you got here is a charm that showcases allowing yourself to be a little bit more open to change as well, and breaking a cycle, right? Breaking the cycle from what it... It's just dropping everything, but what it always maybe has been for you, for generations, for traditions, for beliefs, and that might be changing and shaking up for you. So overall, those are all of the cards and charms that I have for you here, but do stay tuned, because we are going to go ahead and move on to your yes or no question. But I hope you do take these in. Feel free to pause, screenshot, or really journal on these messages, but we're going to move on to that yes or no question. Alright, so here we are, ready to go for your yes or no question here. This is going to be a collective reading, so like I said at the beginning, take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. We're going to be looking for the most likely answer here, and it's going to be a little bit less black and white, which is why I've added better and maybe here to give us a little bit more nuance to your yes or no. But what I think is cool is this deck actually showcases a yes and no card. So I think that's going to be really fun to play with here, to showcase that light and dark energy, and how some of you, a no is actually going to be really useful, and for some of you, a yes. So we're going to see what that is for you collectively. So do feel free to send the question that you have in mind here in, and let's go ahead and, if you're ready, do feel free to pause if you want to take more time. But if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and seek out the answer to the yes or no question here for group 3. All right, so we've got a no. This is very close to the actual no at the bottom of the card, and it's also showing up very close to maybe as well. In the first pile, it was very close to maybe, so it felt like more of a swing towards yes. But here for you, I'm feeling like it's not a solid no. It's not a straight in the middle no, but it is kind of... it's got a little bit of wiggle room, but it's going to take effort to get back to this yes if you really wanted a yes. Otherwise, we also have a no. Do feel free to take this with a grain of salt, though, like I said, and use it more as a tool here for you to make changes if needed. And yeah, that is the entire reading for you here today. I do hope that it was useful to you and that you got something out of it. I know you had a very unique set of cards here for your sweet surprises, but we never know what is behind this surprise, so we're going to see how that works out for you as you walk through that door, and that change as you shake things up. If this was useful to you, if you did enjoy the new setup and the different ways in which we casted the charms and all that stuff, do feel free to give this video a like. It really does help the channel, and also let me know in the comments down below. I love your feedback. It really is super useful and helpful in this space, so thank you. And also next week we're going to be playing around even more with the charms, and especially these tarot tiles. So if you're interested in that, if you want to stay tuned for that, do feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell alongside it so you can stay notified of when I put up these new readings. And if you just want to be a part of this cute little space and small little community here of kindred spirits on the internet, it's always lovely to have more of you join us. And also, because we're heading into the holiday season, and just in general, if you would like to send in any support to this channel, do feel free to check out the Kindred tip jar down below. It all goes back into the channel with the different decks and supplies that I receive and purchase through those. And you can also check out the different ways you can support the channel through the different offerings that I have. If you're interested in art magic and witchery, then do feel free to check out the Yule spell and ritual paper that I have out right now for the winter solstice, one of my favorite holidays. And it's such one full of hope, which I think would be really useful to you right now if that's something that calls to you. But it's such a holiday full of hope, joy, cheer, and growth. So do feel free to check all of that out down below for those. The snail mail readings I currently have closed right now, but if you're interested in a private reading and it's quite urgent, do let me know in my DMs or email me. But otherwise, I'm going to be opening those up in the new year, so stay tuned for those. And I do believe that is everything. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for being a part of this space. It really does mean a lot to me, and that I can bring you these messages. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.